Welcome to the Spike Camp podcast. Spike Camp is a free online community for hunters that support conservation. It's a great place to share stories and your experience with other hunters. As a member of Spike Camp, you get access to all of our hunting live streams, discussion channels, contests, hunter resources, and events that we host. Membership to Spike Camp is free. Our only ask is that you are a member of a hunting or conservation group before you register. Head over to spikecamp.com to join us. This episode of the Spike Camp podcast is brought to you in part by Pack Alarm. Pack Alarm is an ultralight bear alarm designed for the backcountry. Pack Alarm creates a perimeter around your camp that alerts you to incoming predators or bears with an audio alarm. Weighing just half a pound, the Pack Alarm Pro is over 7 times lighter than other bear fences, and it fits in the palm of your hand, making it easy to stow in your pack. You can string out a perimeter as big as a basketball court with approximately 300 feet of line in a single Pack Alarm. Visit packalarm.com to learn more and order one for your next trip into bear country.
All right, everybody, welcome to our Bear Camp series. Bear Camp is sponsored by Pack Alarm, and we've got some prize donations from Defense Aerosols as well. Tonight's show, we have a couple of Alberta boys, and tomorrow we're going to have a couple of BC guys on to talk about bear hunting. There's a lot of similarities between provinces, but there's one main difference, and that's hunting over bait, which is allowed in Alberta, but not in BC. And both provinces allow hunting with hounds. I think that's still the case. If I'm wrong, someone can correct me, but I think dog hunting and hound hunting is allowed in both.
I actually think it just opened in Alberta. I don't think it was originally before. I think it just opened.
Yeah, that could be true. I think I heard that it's open there now. So as far as hound hunting goes, it's a big thing in BC for predators, obviously, in general, cats and stuff. And there's a few guys that run bears with them too. So we're gonna start getting some houndsmen involved. We've got a houndsman association here in BC, and I want to start doing a couple shows on that because I think it's a great topic, and dogs are cool, and it's just certainly an awesome way to go about it. But for tonight's guests, we've got Taylor Loewen, who's a second generation outfitter, born and raised in Alberta. You've been outfitting or guiding for 10 years. I can't remember what you said. Doing both, I guess, right?
Guiding for 10 and now outfitting for 9.
Okay.
But my first year of outfitting, our first year of guiding, I was only 18, still in high school, so I wasn't outfitting yet.
Yeah. So you've got some bear tags now in conjunction with your dad. You guys work together, I'm assuming, right?
My dad has stepped away. I pretty much own and operate the entire company now for him. Well, nice. I should say not for him, for myself.
Cool. Good for you. Nice to see the tradition carrying on. And of course, we've got our buddy Wacey. He's been on the show a bunch of times. For those of you that know Wacey, he loves killing bears. As usual, I ask Wacey for a couple of pics, and he fucking blows my phone up to a million dead bears. So anyway, I thought I'd get him on. He's always got a wealth of knowledge on stuff and loves to share tips and tricks and stuff. So boys, welcome to the show. This is our first bear camp. We've never done this before, but thanks for joining tonight.
Thanks, Chuck.
So
no problem. Glad to be here.
Yeah, good to see you again. So what we're going to do is I'm going to jump back and forth between you guys and try and cover as much as possible. We're going to start with some questions on setting up a bait station and a stand and all that for those that haven't. I know a lot of BC guys that wish we could. I'm one of them. I'd love to do it. I think it's fun. I've done a little bit of stand hunting for other stuff, and I want to kind of unpack how you guys go about it. Now, Wacey, you do both, right? You spot and stalk them whenever you get an opportunity to, right?
Yeah, I'm probably actually more exclusively doing that these days than bait. Yeah.
But you've done some baiting before, though, right?
Oh yeah, I baited forever.
Yeah.
I killed a lot of bears over bait, but I like spot and stalk. It's fun. It's a lot. It's quite a bit of fun, especially with a stick
Yeah.
bow. That's why I do it. Yeah.
Yeah, right on. Yeah, I want to kind of circle back to that. So we're gonna hit the bait stuff first, and then Taylor may have to jump. He's got some late nights going because he's in the middle of his guiding season. So we're gonna do that first for him, and then we'll dig into the spot and stock stuff a little bit later.
Yeah.
So one of the first questions that comes to mind for me is, what do you guys look for in a location? As an outfitter, like you said, you've got, I don't know how many hunters you would have in camp, but I mean, what are the key things for you guys, Taylor, as far as setting up a good location? What are you looking for?
A good location, we typically are looking for, well, first of all, access to a lot of big bush. You can be hunting in the farmland, but as long as you have access to, you want close to 1,000 acres plus of at least thicker, dense woods where the bears can be comfortable living their lives, moving through, hitting the berry patches, hitting the farmers' fields, everything kind of like that. I mean, in my area up north here, we have, an extensive amount of public land. So we're just, going to the edges of the public land, within the first, mile to 3 miles type thing, and putting up a bait station. And then we're always just looking for, some of the darker spruce, just because they feel a little more comfortable in more of the dense and darker timber. Just makes them a little more comfortable for them to come in and out of the bait station pretty consistently.
So you're up by Valley View. Is that the area you're in? Where's that in relation to you, Wacey, as far as north-south goes? How close are you guys?
I'm just east. I'm in Whitecourt, so I'm like maybe an hour east.
Okay, so
hour 45.
Yeah, hour and a half, whatever.
Yeah.
Depends if you're riding with Wacey or not. It's probably an hour, I bet.
Yeah.
So, okay, so you want some pretty thick bush, and then what about terrain features like vegetation and, feed and landscape and stuff like that? Like what else would go into this decision to put a stand there? Or does it matter?
Again, the darker timber just for comfort value. But I mean, I have a stand in the middle of a big birch stand that the bears are in pretty religiously. Last night I had a guy in that stand actually, and it poured rain for 2.5 hours on him, and he's still seeing 4 or 5 different bears coming in and out of the bait most of the night. So, the darker timber is what they like, but they'll move through whatever they have to for good, consistent food. Usually if you can be closer to a creek, just because, natural water course, that's kind of an easier way for the bears to move through and stuff. And I mean, even elk and deer, we all know that they're all traveling those water courses. So it definitely helps to be near water, but not necessary.
All right. So then, as far as finding bears, when you set a stand up, you're presuming bears are living close by, and I guess it's probably safe to say there's bears in the general area for the most part.
Yeah.
Like you got a lot of population. Your population's high, right? I mean, obviously.
Yeah. I mean, up in our area, and I'm sure it's the same as Wacey's, we're in a 2-bear area. So there's no shortage. I mean, and I don't know if it's the same down in your area, Wacey, but on private land, residents can shoot as many as they want. So the bear population is thick as thieves, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So really finding them's not the problem. You just gotta basically, it doesn't sound like this is a difficult task to get bears located, right?
No, not really. Usually it takes a little bit to get a bait going. It all depends on what you're throwing there for them. But it's when you have a good dense population like we do up here in northern Alberta, there's no shortage.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so you get your bait set. What are you guys running? Wacey, what did you run for bait? What was your primary source?
Well, just for sheer tonnage, I would just use oats and grease. I think that's pretty much most guys what they go for. You can feed them, lots of guys. You can buy sweets and syrup and all sorts of trail mix by the tote bag or whatever. It works good too. I mean, you want to have, it's too hard to You know, back in the day, like we used to feed a lot of beaver and stuff, but that gets a little bit much after a while. But yeah, we just for tonnage, we just use oats and grease, and usually that would hold them for quite a while. Green up kind of screw you over a little bit. Depends if you got good feed or you don't got good feed, they'll leave or stay. But yeah, that was our kind of our go-to. Just fryer grease and oats and whatever else you get your hands on, kind of thing.
Right. Is that what you guys do, Taylor? Same thing?
Yeah, I found a butcher shop outside Edmonton that we get pork scraps from,
Yeah.
just for the meat in it. I mean, we use beavers too on the occasion, but you never want to throw just a whole beaver on the ground because the first bear that comes in grabs the beaver, takes off, and you'll never see it again. So, you know, we use scraps and cut things up and just a little bit of everything.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I suppose, like Wacey said, it's tonnage and volume, right? These are big animals, and they're going to eat a lot. So
You get
especially if you get a
a sow comes in with 2 or 3 cubs, she'll clean you out in a night or two. I mean, we feed, like when I was baiting real hard, like we'd feed thousands of pounds on one bait of oats and stuff.
mm-hmm.
Right now I'm going through about 100 bushels of oats a week, just through like 30 baits.
Yeah.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So it's not, I guess, unless you've got a good cheap source, this is not it's not a free service either. Like somebody's paying for this, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So so when you're getting ready for the season, then how far in advance are you getting a bait going?
Well,
as soon as I can get into it, really.
Yeah, I think baiting only opens April 1st. I think, is it April 1st?
Yeah, and that's actually bear season in general. Is that's when it opens, and I think you can actually bait 2 weeks prior. I think it is.
Yeah, 2 weeks prior.
I mean, I'm sure you know this, Wacey. There's way too much snow at the end of March to get into a bear bait.
Oh, when I was younger guy, me and my buddies, you know, we'd be just banging with sleds and sleighs trying to get bait in, and you just, as you get older, you know, and then you'd wait for bears because everybody's excited, and they never show until the snow was gone anyway. So we just started baiting later.
Yeah.
Yeah, it makes sense. So how many baits are you guys running for your guiding operation? You said 30 right now?
Yeah, close to it. I think we're at like, you know, between 25 and 30. It could be 27. I'd have to sit down and count right now, and I'm not feeling that energetic.
Oh my God. Yeah, it's a lot of work. That sounds just like a ton of work to me.
Yeah. Like people that think baiting, you know, oh, you just sit there and shoot bears. Man, it's a pile of work. It's a pile of work.
It is, yeah, and an investment too, right? And I'm sure, like, we haven't even got to like the actual stand setups now, right? Like, how are your stands? Your stand setup? Are they ground blinds or tree stands or both, or how do you guys like to do it?
It's a little bit of both. More tree stands than anything. It's nice to get the scent up, but I mean, the bear smells you get out of bed in the morning for breakfast, so it doesn't really matter what you do. They know you're there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Is it a big deal? Like, do they care? Once a bait's been getting hit, like, what's your thoughts on that? It's not like whitetail hunting out of a stand, right?
So generally they'll care a little bit, maybe when they first start coming in, but most of the time, like when I would set in baits, I would set so the wind would blow across a beaver dam. My back was on a beaver dam or something. So they weren't skirting you, but they still know you're there. They smell you, wind swirls or whatever. It was the bigger boars that you really had a hard time with. You had to really play the game with them guys because they just lay back in the bush until dark and then come in and feed once they heard your quad leave, right? So it's them bears. It's generally like just bears in general. They don't really care. They'll come to the base of your tree and look up. You know, they know you're there.
Mm-hmm.
So wind is is a factor then when you're setting up your stand.
Yeah, you want to play it right. Like you don't want to just willy-nilly, right? But you want to try and play it in your favor if you can, right? Like have something blocking your back door or whatever the case is.
Mm-hmm.
But like again, the wind swirls, you know, a
Yeah.
downdraft pulls it right into the bait. Like I said, the bears know what you had for breakfast this morning. They heard you get out of bed. They know everything. They're just, yeah, the big boars definitely are a little more wary, and I mean, they know the system, they know what's going on. I mean, we've had them where they, you know, they'll sit 80 yards off the bait and just stare at the tree stand. And if the guy isn't, you know, statue still, they bust him real quick and easy. And it's a learning curve. And every once in a while, we might pop up a ground blind because the bear looks at the tree stand, doesn't see anything, and then he'll just come wandering in like he owns the place. And then he gets hammered real quick.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that makes sense. So, what do you guys use? I'm going to ask you, Wacey, what did you use to contain your bait as far as like an actual
Well, just,
like a barrel? Or
just drums. Like most guys use drums. So how I did it is because I was gone to work, you know, a week at a time kind of thing. So I had a couple slow feed drums with oats. So just drums with tiny holes. So they'd roll the drum and just little bits would come out, kind of keeps them hanging around. Cause if you run your bait out of feed, they'll bugger off real quick and it takes a while for them to come back. But like generally just, you know, like everybody has drums set up, and I'll have, usually what I would do is have one main feed drum. I'd have it just off the ground, and I just with a feed hole in it and just fill it up, and yeah, just let them go to town. I have beaver cages, a couple different beaver cages, but yeah, just a couple slow feed drums that would buy me some time till I could get back and bait. Because that's the problem when you're trying to work and do all this, is to get there, right? To feed and keep feed there, right? So that's how I usually do it.
And Taylor, what about you guys?
I mean, because we do it for work, we're baiting all 30 baits every 36 hours. So we're never really running out of bait. You know, of course, Wacey had to work, so he had to set up systems to give himself an advantage. Our advantage is we're getting paid to do it. We got nothing but time. Our job is to run baits. So we just run baits every, you know, 48 to 72 to 36, you know, type thing. We're in them constantly.
So do you run drums too with yours, and then just cut holes?
Yeah. We're also running drums with pretty fast flow. I mean, really, half of them don't even have lids on them of any sort. They just let the bears go to town on them and just grease them up good, sugar them up, honey them up, whatever the heck, you know, whatever a guy wants to do, we just let them go and have it.
Yep.
Yeah.
So then, in the case of your operation, how many hunters would you have sitting on baits? Like today, how many guys were out?
We got 6 guys out right now.
Okay, so then I'm assuming you're rotating them around, and I'm also, let's back up, presuming you got a trail camera, I'm sure, on every one, right? So hitting it?
More recently, we put up trail cameras on every single one, but we've also noticed that it's hindered our hunting because we're kicking ourselves for making the wrong decisions versus going with our guts. You know, and it's also the excitement of what's going to come in tonight. You know, we have no idea, but now with cameras, we're pretty sure what's going to show up. But yeah, it's we're pretty busy to say the least. So.
Yeah, no doubt. So do you rotate your guys then? Obviously you rotate them from stand to stand, just sort of feel it out, right? Yeah,
we're going with our best judgment. You know, if you go, okay, this guy wants a colored bear, then we'll okay, well, maybe we'll hunt some of the more traditional colored baits. We might not put everybody on a colored stand because, well, that's everybody.
I think we lost his audio.
Yeah, maybe a little bit of a lag.
Thing and let things go kind of the natural course. Well,
yeah, okay. So when you say a colored stand, is it you're just talking about an area that you know there's colored phased bears in?
I mean, our outfit's been in business for 30 years, so a lot of our baits are 25, 30 years old. Given that, you know, for the pre-camera era, hey, this bait has killed, you know, a color almost every year. So it's an area that's well known for its colored bears.
Genetics are in there, yeah. You got the same over your way, Wacey?
Yeah, I had a really good bait. And I ended up shutting it down. I ran that bait for about a decade, and every year it was the same thing. I had lots of colors coming in, and then I moved about maybe 10K back west, and I've only had one color there. So yeah, it depends on the area, right? I guess genetics in that area. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Right on. Let's talk a little bit about the setup on the actual, like the distance, yardage, how do you set your blind up in relation to the bait for the hunter, for ease of shots and stuff like that. Taylor, can you give us some insight on that?
In all honesty, we give them 15 to 20 yard shots because they screw it up enough that it's hard to give them more. I mean, if we have rifle guys, we'll sometimes blind them and put them back, 40, 60 yards. But a lot of guys, they're like, oh, well, if we're only shooting 15, 20 yards, I'd rather use my bow. I go, and I'm like, we're always like, happy to put you 15 yards away because you'll probably find a way to screw it up anyway.
Yeah. What's the biggest mistake as someone makes shooting, missing or wounding? Like what with a bow? Like what's typical?
Didn't shoot sitting down before, so the cam hit their leg. I don't even know what the guy did tonight. He just blew it right underneath the bear somehow. I'm waiting for that story still. I mean, some guys are just, get that bad buck fever still.
Sure,
it's the excitement of everything. And, this week we have, of the 6 guys, only one of them's killed a bear before. So we've got 5 guys brand new to bear hunting, never done it before. So the excitement's there, and the like I said, the buck fever will get a guy going and they'll screw it up. So it just it's also the never-ending battle of overconfidence and I'm God's gift to bow hunting. You can't tell me what to do.
Yeah, that happens. Wacey, you're great at. You've seen this movie before?
Oh yeah, I think it's the tale as old as bear hunting right there. A lot of guys just don't see bears, and then before you know it, there's 5 bears in front of them, and they're just sitting there shaking, and then they got to pull a shot off eventually, right? So there's usually a lot of screw ups. But
yeah, I guess it's hard to judge somebody unless you've sat there and done it too. Like I've never hunted bears in a stand. I've shot them spot and stalk, and that's just something that you're used to. I guess like now you got a predator 15 yards away. I could kind of see how guys would make that honest mistake, but again, in the guiding and outfitting business, you get all kinds of clientele, and it's not all fantastic for sure. Okay, so 15 yards away. What about, I know a friend of mine who's an outfitter in Alberta, and he had his bait set up where he would have kind of like it's almost like a fence behind. So he put 2 posts in the ground, and then he would have rails going up behind, and he would tell the guys, you want to make sure this bear is as tall as the 5th rail or whatever. And then there's the drum theory, right? Of the, bear's back, the size of the drum. I've heard all kinds of different things. I'd like to hear from both of you. Wacey, what's your tips for judging a bear in a stand? Like, what are you looking for? Or what are you telling somebody to look for?
Well, that's the beauty thing about hunting bears is you already know, like on a bait, hunting bears on a bait, you already know what you're looking for, right? Like I've already been running cameras, so, I've had time to judge them, but yeah, you can generally big boars, you know a big boar when you see a big boar, like the rule of thumb is generally that they are a little bit taller than a 50-gallon drum. But I mean, when I'm hunting a bait specifically, there's a bear there that I want to kill. Like I know he's there, I know what he looks like, and so it's kind of not like spot and stalk where you're just trying to judge on the fly more. That is the beauty thing about baiting is you can be like, hey, there's a bear here. This is what he is. He's got a brown muzzle, or he's got a bow tie or a tuxedo on his chest, and that's what I'm looking for. I already know what bears I'm after. But
right. And Taylor, what about you guys? Like, what are your tips for your hunters when you're sending them out in the first morning? What kind of advice are you giving them?
I mean, obviously the same barrel technique as everybody else. One thing people often forget is that the bears will knock over the barrel if it's a loose barrel. So then one thing I always go with is, imagine the bear inside the barrel. If the bear is going to overflow the barrel, then obviously it's a big bear. You should really shoot that. If it's barely going to fill the barrel, that's a pretty good bear. You should probably consider shooting that too. But if there's a lot of air inside that barrel with the bear, it's really not worth shooting. And then one thing I always kind of like to run with is the space between their ears. If you can fit a 2x4 between its ears, it's probably not worth shooting. A 2x6, if you haven't killed many bears, a 2x6 bear is a great bear to kill. And a 2x8, you probably should have shot it by now.
Yeah, I mean, that's something people can relate to, I guess. Yeah, 2x4, 2x6, that makes sense. Yeah, I guess like we're going to talk a little bit about field judging bears and when we get into the spot and stalk, because that is freaking hard when they're 400 yards away on a hillside. I mean, especially if they got a long, got a long coat on them and stuff. It's just super hard. So
it's probably the most frequently screwed up animal to judge, field judge on, like, for sure, in spot and stalk. I know. Like, it's
absolutely.
Cool. When you're looking at a bear on the side of a hill, and you're like, "Oh, that looks like a big bear."
And he's the only one on the side of a hill. Yeah. Awfully hard. Yeah, exactly. All right. Well, the next couple of questions are kind of geared for the outfitter here. So, what's a day? What does a day in bear camp look like for you guys as far as like start time and how does it work?
So I guess the way we're running camp this week at the very least, so we do a breakfast at 9 a.m. and pre 9 a.m. if there's a bear killed the night before, we're doing pictures or skinning at that point. So pre 9 a.m. is pictures and skinning, and post 9 a.m. is the same. If you've killed a bunch of bears, we'll get through our camp that way. Then we always encourage guys to go do a late morning, early afternoon hunt. And I mean, it's not the most eventful hunt, but one thing is, and when the guys have invested the money in the hunt, if you can get them out of camp, they feel like they're really getting ahead. So we like to get them out of camp and go for a hunt. And I mean, we've got to run the dates anyways. Like I said, we go through everything every 36 hours to 72 hours type thing. We got to run them anyway. And believe it or not, you can't shoot a bear sitting at the lodge when it's out of zone. So you may as well go out for a ride, go have some fun, just go do something different. So we always take the guys out and we'll do, they'll sit from 11 till 2 type thing, just to break you in, get you out of the lodge, get you seeing the country, seeing bears, getting you more comfortable, trying to judge them and everything from there. And then we go back to the lodge for a 4 o'clock lunch. And by 5 o'clock, we're loaded to go out for the rest of the night. And it's, again, I've got baits to run for the most part. We ran everything just yesterday. Me and my 2 other guides, we ran everything just yesterday. So I didn't have to bait tonight. But, if I did have to, I wouldn't be on tonight. And, just trying to take care of business. And the guys are up in the tree now, and they're, one's missing shots. The other one's sitting in the ground blind, shaking like a leaf. So we'll see how he does. And and then it'll be back at the lodge for a midnight dinner and sleep. Yeah.
It's kind of a relaxed program, right? There's not a lot of urgency there once you get the baits going. So how many days would you sit somebody in the same stand, in the same bait in a row?
I mean, we pretty much almost never do it, back to back, unless something on camera jumps at us, or if guys are holding out for something that we had seen on camera, even just earlier in the week or earlier in the season, they'll be like, well, put me there, I'll grind it out. And then that's the only kind of times we really have guys sit the same spot over and over again. Usually it's, again, I got 6 hunters and 30 baits. I got a pile of bears everywhere. I'm sure we'll find one they want to shoot.
Yeah.
Mhm.
How about you, Wacey? When you were doing it, was it evening after work kind of thing for you?
Yeah, it depends. Yeah, I would hunt just evenings. That's usually the when you're gonna see the bulk of your bears, right? But
Hmm.
yeah, I'm just I wouldn't sit a stand crazy amount. I found that you could burn them up eventually if you sat and sat and sat and sat. But I would try to just make my sits right. Try to like I'd go in on the right wind and stuff. Try to kill them usually first sit, second sit, kind of thing. If you could, was the best.
Hmm. Cool. So shot placement. Let's do both for your bow hunters, Taylor. What are you giving these guys for advice from a tree stand, looking down on the bear? First of all.
I always say either middle, um, or if you're gonna do, if you prefer, some guys prefer thirds for some reason. I go the bottom of the middle third to the top of the bottom third. You know, it's kind of right in that window. I'm always saying as tight to the front shoulder as you can, but still knowing you're behind it, because arrows that just, or I guess bears specifically, if you don't take out both lungs, those things can run a long time.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. So where do the lungs sit in a black bear then? Are they right tight with that shoulder on the front? I haven't looked at the anatomy one in a while.
Yeah, they're right tight there. I mean, I always see like the anatomy pictures and stuff where people say that they're actually further behind the shoulder than we think. But I mean, I'd imagine you're just shooting the same as a whitetail, shooting the same as an elk or a moose. You know, you always just aim behind the shoulder and then take out both lungs, and they don't run far.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I always aim, but you know, they're like you want to talk about a subject that's gets talked about more than anything. It's like shot placement on bears. Everybody has an opinion. Center, this and that. I always just shot them behind the shoulder. Bows, guns,
Yeah.
long bows, recurves, you know, and I kill them. So I don't know.
Yep.
But generally,
Yep.
as a general rule, if you think you hit them a little far back, you probably didn't. You probably will die.
Right.
Pretty.
You've got some room for error there, going
Mhm.
back a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I've heard guys, I haven't heard this in a while now. The middle thing has sort of been, you hear it a lot the last couple of years. I've heard that a lot. There's been a lot of YouTube experts out there as well with that. But, I guess technically, if you're shooting him with a rifle and it's close, you bust the front shoulders, he's probably not going far either, right?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. So, yeah, interesting. What about level ground? Anything different? I guess it's the same. You're just passing through the sides, right?
Yeah, it's the same. Just don't screw it up is the only thing I ask, and yet they still do it.
Everybody, I'm sure. What about you talk about the running a long ways. Those bear retrievals, what's your strategy with that? So you got a wounded bear, you come in and stand at night. Are you guys going back in the morning and tracking blood trails, Taylor? Like what's your strategy there?
We're trying to get them that night. It makes life easier, and I mean, we don't want to waste too much fuel burning around. You know, some of my stands are 40-45 miles from the lodge, so when I got to put on miles like that, it's not worth the gas to come back the next day if I know I can do it that night. Of course, if we have to, we will, but you put on the miles, and I mean, you always have a really good feeling after the bears run 100 yards, your odds of finding them are pretty low. But we put in our best effort, and as always, we put in the best effort trying to recover the game, because no animal deserves to be running around half dead. You got to put in the time, you put in the effort, and especially when a guy spends $5,500 trying to kill one and they screw it up, you got to at least make them feel good that you put in every effort you could.
Yeah,
it would depend. It depends if for me, if I hear him death mowing, it's not all
that's game,
but the bulk of them I did, so I knew right away. but you could just trail them up. You know, when you, I get like for him, it's kind of different because the guys he probably asks them, you know, where'd you hit, and they're like, oh, here, but it probably wasn't. For
It was
me,
perfectly behind the shoulder in the front paw.
For me, I know where my shot is, so I know myself. Like I can just trail this bear up right away, right? If I don't hear a death moan, I know he's going to be dead or whatever. But
Yeah.
But for him, it's kind of a different thing, right? So
Yeah. I had a guy 2 weeks ago shot it in the front paw with a crossbow, and I was amazed I was able to find the bear, but he hit that artery and it bled bad, or bled good, I should say.
So you got any rules on broadheads you guys use? You like expandables or you don't like expandables? Or?
I mean, I've never cared that much, but I've noticed more and more that I almost prefer expandables with a big cut. I mean, you know, either a 2-inch rage, or I have one guy that's in camp right now that's sponsored by G5, and he's using those, not the Trauminators from Knock On, but the what are they? They're 3-blade expandable anyway, and those things there have made a big hole, and we've recovered a fair amount of bears with guys using them. But I mean, always the bigger the hole, the better. I mean, you know, with a bear shot poorly, the fat rolls can roll over top of the wound, and then it'll seal up the blood, and then you're tracking a ghost type thing. So something that makes the biggest hole possible is what we want.
And their hair and their hide soaks up a lot of blood. So they'll run.
Does it ever?
So if they're running, like say you shoot them and they're running, they might go 80 yards before you can start finding blood or further, right? Their hair soaks it up. So like with an expandable, it's probably the best. Yeah, big guy. I've shot up quite a few with expandables and fixed blades, but expandables work good too. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point, right? They're going to run, especially if it's, you know, if nothing's broken and they're just like you said, shot in the lungs or just clipped the lung, they're going to run. So I'm assuming if you're doing this at night, you're using some sort of a red blood light, tracking light or something like that. Like, how are you finding blood at 80 yards in the dark? That's got to be
just with a flashlight, and I'll even crawl on my hands and knees if I have to, if I'm being honest, because I'd hate to miss something when the guys are investing this kind of money into something. I at least want them to think I care as much as I do. So if you get down on your hands and knees, they definitely see that, oh man, this guy's not gonna just be like, oh, I made a bad shot. We don't care if you actually recover your bear. I'm like, no, I'll crawl on my hands and knees and put in the effort for you. But it'll happen pretty quick. I'll know real quick if you're killing it or not.
Yeah, for sure. Before we jump to our halftime, we're gonna do a giveaway on halftime, and then we're gonna start talking about spot and stalk hunting and tactics and stuff like that. You touched on it earlier in the show, Taylor. You talked a little bit about the importance of hunting bears. Do you hunt? You probably don't, but do you hunt bears at all anymore? Obviously did when you were younger, but do you personally do it?
If I felt like I could put in an honest effort hunting, I absolutely would. But trying to manage my own personal baits with the client baits, I just don't have the time.
Yeah, sure.
You know, I got a newborn at home, and that just between the wife, the newborn, and the business, I don't quite have the time I would like to invest into hunting bears myself, but I absolutely would. I mean, this year I'm running I should say my father's running a couple of baits, so I'll get out and hit the stand, you know, maybe once or twice, probably, but that'd be about it, really. But just to go and sit and enjoy watching them instead of just thinking of them, you know, thinking of them as another work project, I'll go and think of them as the actual cool animal that they are.
They are. I mean, they're a predator, right? I mean, realistically, what other animal can you go out and hunt that is, you're doing two things. You're helping, you know, fawns and calves, and you can actually put meat in the freezer with a bear if you like the meat and you want to eat it. I don't think you can do that with anything else, really. I guess cougars, maybe you could call it that, but from a popular hunting kind of basis, you're killing two birds with one stone. If you're someone who eats it. But you're dealing with how many bears a year is your operation taking on average? What's the number of bears this year, Taylor? How many do you guys think you'll harvest?
We're pretty close to 40 bears a year.
Yeah. So I'm assuming, do you as a family eat bear meat? I mean, you guys live in the
Well, we're
land
already
of
up
moose
to
and elk.
17 with the 3.
Sorry?
Yeah. No, we don't eat bear meat. It's not a favorite. I think my connection's a little slow here. I think I'm losing it just a little bit.
Lagging a little bit. Yeah, no worries. Yeah, I would think if you're in with bears every day like that, you're probably not really interested. Especially you guys both live in the land of moose and elk.
My hands will smell like bear.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How about you, Wacey? Do you eat it?
No, not our favorite either. Not bait bears anyway. Spring bears too. Like if you want a good eating bear, like a fall bear and an oak crop is a heck of a lot better than a bear that just crawls out of a den, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But I mean, each to their own. If people prefer that, I don't like spring bears myself. No.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's different in BC. I think there's certainly a different food source in a lot of places for those bears too. Depending on where you're hunting. I know out our way here in BC, you see a lot of guys. A lot of guys are just getting sausage made. A lot of pepperoni and jalapeno cheddar, smokies, and I've tried some of that. I mean, you can make sausage out of any meat, as we all know, but I've had some bear sausage recently that was just like unbelievably good. And I haven't shot a bear. I got one hanging up here behind me, but that was 30 years ago when I shot that, and I haven't shot one since. But my focus is kind of changed, and now I'm thinking more along the lines of predator control more than a food source. But I'm not going to throw the meat away either. I'll figure something out, make sausage or burger or bacon or something out of it. So, do your clients take the bear meat home? I guess the guys that drive might, right?
About half of the guys are interested in taking the meat home, and we encourage guys too if they really want to try it. And I mean, we'll even cook up some in camp for them to try. But I mean, Alberta, at least they just changed the law, but for the longest time, the law was you had to take the hide. You didn't have to take the meat. And I mean, after skinning 40 bears in a year and your hands just smell like bear till August, I don't want to eat it.
Yeah, no doubt. What's typical trophy prep like? Are guys still doing lots of rugs, or is it tanning and doing skulls? Like what do you see mostly?
Rugs and skulls. Everybody's taking their skulls home. And we're taxidermy trained, so we can skin them, we can turn faces, we can do, everything to the point where your taxidermist pulls it out of the bag when you get home, sends it to the tannery, and he has to do very little extra work when it leaves our place. So,
yeah, no doubt. All right. Well, you know what? I think we are gonna pull a prize draw here.
Do you want to answer any of them questions quick, Chuck, or what?
Oh shit! Yeah, we do have some here. What have we got for questions?
I'm not trying to tell you how to run your show or anything, but
I know I get lost. It's your show too. Okay, so let's see here. What do we got?
Is it any book bears shot with your guides? Any surprises?
Oh yeah, any book bears, any big boys up there? Yeah, what's your biggest bear taken out of your area?
Well, out of our area, I mean, I think it's the Alberta number 3 was killed within 30 miles of the lodge. Is that like 22 and 9/16 or something like that? I mean, we've killed I couldn't even venture a guess in 30 years how many 21-inch bears our outfit's killed. I mean, we've, again, 30 years, and I've only been doing it for the last 8. I mean, we kill a pile of book bears. It's just, but it's always got to be the right hunter, the right stand, the right situation. We have a lot of the wrong hunters making the wrong shots and ruining some book bears as well. So,
have you guys pulled any 22s out of your outfit?
I think our biggest was like 21-9, or maybe 21-10 or something. I'm not 100%. I'd have to look back at my dad's records and see where he's ever topped out.
So like what a lot of people don't understand, like, you know, if you say the numbers 22 or 21, like a 22-inch black bear is probably like a 220 or so inch whitetail. Like,
at least, if not even more. Like
it's almost fucking impossible. Like, you know, 21's a book bear. So if you say a 21-inch bear, to me, that's like 190 or 200-inch whitetail. And 20s are like 180s. You know, like 20s get killed. The bulk, the bulk of the big older boars are 20s. And then there's your handful of 21s, and then your very, very few 22s. I'd love to get my hands on a 22, but yeah.
You and me both.
So, say a 21-inch bear. 2 questions with a bear like that. I mean, it's probably going to vary a bit, but how big would that body be on that bear as far as like square, and I guess weight would depend on how his winter was. So that's question 1. And then how old, what's the age range of a bear like that?
Oh God.
Tough question.
I mean, a 20, I mean, even 20-inch, the biggest bear we killed last year was over 20. He wasn't 21, but he weighed 525 and squared 8 or 8'1". So, you know, a 21, 22-inch bear, you know, I don't think a black bear is going to get much more over 8 feet, if I'm being honest. You know, if somebody told me they killed an 8.5-foot black bear, I'd have to see some proof to that, because that sounds pretty unreal to me. And I mean, weight, they're going to be, you know, in that 500 range, depending on their winter. I mean, last winter we had a soft winter, so our bears wintered well. This winter they would have had a harder winter up here. I'm sure it was the same down with you, right, Wacey? Is a little harder winter.
Yeah.
So I would imagine in the 400s, but I mean, who knows? He could have went into the den at 600 if he had a good fall spot. So
yeah, like the thing when you're looking at truly big boars, and you're looking at it, and you can be like, he's over 20, but you don't know if he's 21 or 22. Like the difference is so hard to tell. So you can be like, yeah, he's probably going to be a 20-inch bear. But at the end of the day, you'll never know if he's going to crack 21 or 22 until you skin him. Probably not going to crack 22, but he might be close to 21 or whatever. But you just got to kill him to find out. Like, I don't care. Like, I've looked at tens of thousands of bears, probably the same as him. And at the end of the day, you're like, yeah, it's a mature boar. And then we'll have to see what he takes out at when we get him down.
Just shoot that one if he comes in.
Yeah, it's really tough to. It's really tough to just be like, oh yeah, it's 21-inch bear, but you know, he could be just 20, you know, like whatever.
I mean, my best bear I killed went 19 1/4, and all of his front teeth wore right to the roots. So I'm guessing he had to have been, you know, an aged out bear, but he just didn't have the genetics for a big skull. I mean, you could see every root across everything in between his canines. He was probably in the painful side of his life and on his decline, but a skull wouldn't shrink from 22 back to 19. Their skulls are just going to grow genetically to whatever size they're going to be.
So I spent a lot of time over the years researching bears and where big bears are killed, and like the bulk of the big bears, like the 22-inch giants, they're all coming out of like kind of that northern Manitoba stuff. Like they kill a lot of 22s up there, and Alberta is just like, we do kill some 22s, but it's not very many. We just don't have the genetics for it for whatever reason in this area.
So I'm a little naive to the like regions of where the big bears would be, but where would BC's bears rank like coastal bears on that and island bears? Like what have you heard or know?
So I know I did some research on BC, and you guys are kind of like the coastal bears, from what I could tell. You guys were like a lot of 18s and 19s and some 20s. I didn't see a lot of 22s, but you guys' record is 22. I think last time me and Tyler were BSing on the phone, we had looked it up and it was a 22 something. So, I mean, they're there. It's kind of like here, right? It's just like they exist, but not very often.
From what I've heard of the BC coastal bears, I've heard you guys also have some of the bigger bodies because of the salmon runs, and you guys get, the earlier spring, so they get to eat more, in the later winters, so they get to eat more, so they pack on more weight. So they would have the better weight and probably some of the better squaring. But yeah, skull wise is just the genetic thing. I mean, you got to be lucky to hit those.
Yeah, we had, you guys know Joe Appel, right?
Yeah.
From Edge TV. So Joe's a BC guy, and he lives up Squamish way, and I'd have to look, but I saw on Instagram that his wife killed a really big black bear, and it was in that 500-pound range too. So I'll reach out to him and find out what I know they got it green scored. Someone on the show might know. I think he had it. His taxidermist did a quick measurement on it, and it was a good bear. I don't know where it ranks as far as inches go, but yeah, he has some video of Joe. I mean, Joe's a big man. He's 6'8", 280 pounds. As he says, he's 280 in his socks, and he was flipping this thing down the hill and got it into the back of his truck, and then got it, of course. But oh my God, just moving a bear of that size must be an absolute chore.
But this bear that like me and him are talking about, like these bears, you don't move them. Like you don't just these 500-pound spring bears, you don't move them. You can hardly move them. You need trailers and winches. Like when I see on TV guys, two guys, they pick up a bear and throw it in the back of the side by side. That's like you kind of chuckle. That's not a big bear. Like the bears that we're talking, it's like 3 men and winches, and it's an ordeal to get them out of the bush, man. It's
some grunting, some swearing, and some not so kind words were exchanged.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I mean, and there's nothing to really grab onto but fur, right? I mean, you just grab, it'd be impossible. You'll have to check out Joe's wife's bear, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. So they're saying green score was over 21, and he's killed a lot of bears too. So that's a pretty impressive bear. And just for the record, Joe is 3 guys. So if anybody's gonna flip a bear around, he's the guy I want on my team to get it up.
So I had a surprise bear one time too. It was a bear, and he was kind of lanky. It was springtime. You could tell he's an older boar. He had really long claws, and like for a black bear, like long fur. And I was like, man, he was kind of bossing the bait, but I was like, he's not a real. You look at him, he was like 350, maybe 400 pounds kind of thing. And so a buddy wanted to shoot a bear. So I'm like, yeah, I got a bear for you. He's a boar, and he's bossing everybody. And he comes and shoots, and he cleaned his skull, and he was 20 and 9. I'm like,
you never know.
If you're going to let your friend shoot those, can we be friends?
Yeah. Well, I thought maybe, I'm like, oh, this bear will clip. He'll maybe clip 19 or something, right? And but so they do. It does, like, it's a genetic thing. You just don't know, right, until you get them down. So.
Okay, so how does that measurement work? So you got the skull skinned out. How do you arrive at 20 or 21?
Hold on. Yeah, you keep talking.
Okay.
I guess really all you do is you take a bunch of the meat off and you measure length plus width. Usually use calipers so you can get a more accurate measurement. It's just length plus width.
Yeah.
Right.
So you'll have your calipers, and you'll take your bottom jaw off here. This bear is 20 and 3, and you'll just measure from the end of your dorsal bone to the front here, and then on the sides. So you take your length and your width.
Okay.
And then you add your two together. Right?
Pretty simple.
Yeah,
it's a big bear.
It's a simple measurement, yeah. So that's kind of all there is to it.
Tell us the story on that one, Wacey. That's not a little tiny bear.
Yeah, this bear here, he just same thing. Like he was like first bear in. You guys probably get a lot of older, bigger bears that come in on baits like right away in the spring. It's kind of funny with the older boars. They seem they want to hit. They'll hit like they'll be like some of the first ones there. Fill up and then they'll kind of bugger off and you'll see them come back through in the rut. But this guy was one of them deals. I went in just to rebait and pulled a card. This was pre-cell cam and pulled a card and I seen it. He was there. He was a good bear. He had a big dinosaur neck on him. So I'm like, all right. So I ran back to quadded. So it was about 10 miles. I quadded back to the truck, got my stuff and come back in. And he came in with like right at almost last light and I just shot him and he ran about 100 yards. I actually left him for the night because I did trail it down in the dark and it was like real buck brushy. So you know, you're kind of hard trailing. I knew the shot was pretty good. I actually filmed that one back in the day, but yeah, and he only went about 100 yards, tipped over. But yeah, he was a good bear.
Did you get a death moan out of him?
I didn't actually. Yeah, so sometimes they will, and the bulk of the time they will for me, but sometimes they don't. This guy never. No.
I always tell the guys it's about half of them will do the death moan. That way, they always have that hope that maybe he's still down, and and it's usually about half of them.
Yeah.
Do you guys use predator calls at all? I guess what's the point in a stand, right? But I'm sure you have
not baiting, not baiting generally, no.
Yeah, that was someone's question there.
Yeah, I've never done it. I've heard of guys trying it to try and call in wolves after they've killed their second bear and stuff, but it's not a common practice on bait.
Yeah,
that's more of one hunt I want to do is like a coastal BC hunt, and I think guys have more success with that there. Predator calls seems like a thing there.
Lots of guys do. Yeah, lots of guys. One of the tactics we're going to talk tomorrow night about it too with the guys is, sometimes you'll come around a corner on a logging road and the bear will see you and he'll bolt off into the bush, and then you drive past them, shut the truck down or leave the truck running and come back up and do some fawn calls depending on the time of year when the fawns are dropping. I've heard that works pretty good too, and all of a sudden you'll get that bear popping back out on the road because he only went 50 yards. Depends how scared he was and stuff, but that'd be kind of cool calling him in. Interesting stuff. So what about crazy bear encounters? Let's hear from the guide first. You must have had a few. It could be tracking or sitting in a stand. Got to be something.
I'm trying to think of which ones are safe for public knowledge to put out there. I mean, I do it pretty often. You cruise into a bait, I'm just trying to run as many baits as I can, as fast as I can, so I can keep going and get them all taken care of. And sometimes I'll tree bears right at the stand. And one time there was a guide I was training. So showing them to the baits, and then just, this is how I do it. I pour the oats, and I mix my grease, I pour more oats, I mix more grease, and then throw the meat on the ground. I was going through the process of just pouring oats and mixing and doing the mix. And she was just a sow, not overly aggressive of any sort, just curious type thing. And so she came in while I was doing the first dump, and I'm mixing, and she comes and she circles around the tree that the barrel's chained to. And I was kind of watching her, and my guide's filming from the background going, oh, this is so cool, this is going to be what I get to do. And then I was kind of just in my own little world mixing, and I turned around, grabbed the next bag, and I was dumping the oats in. And all of a sudden, it was two pine trees kind of growing out of the same system. And I was at the one with the barrel, and she jumped at the one on the other one. And it was just one of those, just kind of a flinching reaction. It just kind of wheeled and said, hey, don't you do that. And I reached out and smacked her on the nose.
Jeez.
And then I looked down at my hand, and I went, I just hit a bear in the face. And the bear looks at me like, you just hit me in the face. And my guide looks at the two of us going, he just hit a bear in the face. And I'm like, yeah, I meant to do that. It's one of those just kind of weird encounters. Yeah. Yeah, I'm not scared. I can smack bears on the nose. That's where their teeth are, right? It's not that far from the teeth. It was one of those moments where I was like, oh, maybe that wasn't the brightest thing to do, but it was just one of the quick reactions I tried to wheel off. And I mean, that's probably the most safe one I should be telling on a live cast like this.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many stories of the tracking stories, right, where that bear's not hit properly and it's just licking its wounds. What about you, Wacey? Not any fun stuff?
It was same as him. You just get small bears coming in and hanging around. I've actually had more dangerous bear encounters out, like elk hunting, calling elk and stuff like that, than I have at a bait. Like, you get some young bears at a bait, they'll try and bluff on you a little bit or whatever. I don't usually bother me a bunch, but I had a big boar one time that slipped in on us calling elk, and he came in downwind even, and I had a longbow. I had to shoot that bear because he was coming, and we were yelling. So, I mean, that was probably one of the more dangerous ones that happened. But like in baits, you've same deal. If you bait, you got to get used to being around them. Like they're around. Like I'll have younger bears. Like it depends on what your bait is like. If you got older boars or sows there, the younger bears don't get to eat a bunch. So when you're feeding it, when you come in, it runs the bears off, and them younger bears will come in to kind of eat while you're still there. So I had lots of that, but it's usually if you're feeding them, they're not usually looking to maul you a whole bunch. But not to say that it won't happen, but could.
When is the rut for black bears?
Into May. Last week of May.
This week, next week, the week after, they're kind of just starting to get going. We've been seeing them starting to push them around, and we've seen some breeding action on camera. So they're starting to get going here. I mean, I would kind of say it's like the beginning of November, the end of October, a little bit of that pre-rut action, but it's going to start really taking off here in the next, any day really. Just say any day now, it's going to start. So
what changes apart from them obviously breeding, but what about behavior and activity and time of day, or like what is there any real big changes when the rut comes? Does it get better?
You go first, Wacey.
Well, it can. Like, so for example, I had a great big colored bear one time, a big boar. And, he was doing the typical big boar stuff, coming nighttime to feed. I would try playing games with him, couldn't get him to come in, and he just disappears this time of year. And then 5 days later, he comes in following a sow. So, it's like, it can be better, but it can also just not be better. It depends what you got. If you got sows that are without cubs that are there, and it just depends. But, for the most part, it doesn't hurt. But it can, if you had a bear that was coming and you got him in daylight or whatever, and then the rut comes, he could leave as well, right?
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead, Taylor.
I mean, I always say it's just like the deer rut. Anything can happen. I mean, usually by then the forest is pretty green, so a lot of your bear activity on your baits does slow down. But again, anything can happen. We had some guys hunting the first week of June a few years ago. And, the guy sat in one stand for 12 hours, seen one bear, but it was a 20 and 5/16 bear. Just, absolute toad came in. He was the only bear he's seen on one of our best baits that we have. And it just, they just showed up right when he was ready to. And it was a bear we've never seen on camera. Just luck of the draw. It's totally just like hunting the deer rut. Basically, anything can happen.
Yep.
So do you see them, like you got baits all over the place there? Do you see them cruising? Like I know other animals will cover ground. Bears will do the same.
Yeah.
Yep. They'll. We have a cluster of baits in maybe a 15-mile kind of radius of each other, And we've
Right.
tracked bears from one bait to the other bait just by, camera pictures and guys saying, "Oh, I shot my second bear and then this bear came through." I was like, dude, 2 days ago we were seen, 5 miles away, and now here he is on this bait. They just go on an adventure, to say the least.
Yeah.
So what kind of happens, Chuck, with these established baits over time? They get really good bear trails, and bears will cruise them like highways, right? So that's bulk of the time they end up where they end up.
And it's probably as the rut starts too, it's probably looking for love a little bit too, right? They'll be cruising.
That's all they're looking for.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Love and trail mix.
Hey, is that guy in Valley View still selling bear bait? There was a couple
No,
guys.
I think they got out of it. I know both of them. I went to school with both of them, but as far as I know, they're out of it. I haven't heard or seen anything from them lately. So
Yeah, it was a handful of years ago. I went up and I bought a couple totes of stuff off of them. And yeah, I didn't know if they were still around or not.
and they're still in town, but I don't think they're selling bear bait anymore. I haven't heard really anything from them. So
Yeah.
Oh, one question that I know I was supposed to ask is, what's the deal with the death moan? Like, any theories?
I'm dying.
Yeah, it's
That's it. That's all. Simple as
Pretty
that.
like, yeah, they kind of sound like they're just, I don't know, just giving a moan kind of thing.
I've heard the blood curdling screams every once in a while, and it's not. It's never the most. I mean, it's a great sound to hear, but it's not something you like hearing, to say the least.
Yeah, for sure. It's
Have you ever
death.
heard Have you ever heard two bears stand up and fighting and they do that thing?
Yeah.
Like, so it's kind of the death moans, the ones I've heard. Like, I've heard a scream before, but I've heard it. They kind of do that.
And
That's a
yeah.
weird sound. I've not heard
Yeah.
it, but I've seen it on like YouTube and shit, and that is a freaking weird sound.
Yeah, can be.
It's like they got.
I got a video. I thought I had a video of a bear I shot one time that was doing that. I'd have to find it.
I know I've got lots of videos of it, but I couldn't find one to save my life right about now.
All right.
It's not a guaranteed thing, like he said. About maybe 40%, maybe 50%. I don't know.
Yeah, it is kind of weird, right? So, anyway, we're gonna pull the winner. Blake has drawn a name from the group that's joined us tonight. So, Zane Jones, you are the winner of a pack alarm. So, Blake will reach out, get your shipping information. We're not going to ship it Canada Post, at least not right now. So we'll get that off to you. We'll figure that one out. All right, we're going to switch over and talk a little bit of spot and stock stuff. So Taylor, I know you've had a long day. If you want to stick around, you're more than welcome. If you want to pull the pin, it's up to you, man. I know you got probably got some bears to skin or track or something.
I'm gonna read some text messages because I did get a text that that was arrowed one, and I couldn't read the rest of it. So I'm gonna check those, but I'll stick in as long as I can just to be involved. Having a great time with you guys, honestly.
Yeah, it's awesome. We appreciate it. It's good. The banter between you two is good. It's nice to hear from some guys with experience. So let's talk spot and stock, Wacey. I know that's one of your favorite things. Blake and I were talking about bear hunting, and for us, like, obviously we don't have the luxury of the whole tactics with bait hunting and stuff, but we were talking about why should people bear hunt, or what are some of the pros as far as bear hunting goes. And the obvious ones come to mind. Yeah, it's predator control. We're helping. It's a conservation move. We're helping all the young ones that are being born, because those black bears, a lot of people don't realize how devastating a black bear can be on fawns and moose calves and elk calves and all the little creatures out there. But a couple other things came up, and one is, spot and stalk bear hunting. If you're doing it right, you are practicing and honing your skills as a hunter, right? Like you've got to have all this, you got to have all the tools in the tool belt. You got to have the wind right. You've got to have, you've got to have a plan to stalk in. You've got to be quiet. You've got to watch your movement. You get to try, from a practice perspective, you get to try all kinds of field shooting positions. You get, you shoot that animal. Yeah. Now you got to practice processing, because a lot of guys and girls and newer hunters, they might only get a shot at one animal a year or one animal every couple of years. And that's usually a deer, at a minimum, or, maybe if they're lucky enough, it's a moose or something. But it's also great for young hunters, right? You want to give young hunters an opportunity to learn how to hunt. What's the big deal if you blow out a stalk on a black bear on a logging road, right? Well, it's a good place for a 12-year-old kid to hone their skills and learn and all of those things. So I'm curious, Wacey, what are your thoughts on black bear hunting in general and why we should do it?
Yeah, I think, Chuck, it's the same reasons like everybody's going to say. I mean, there was a study, I know it was in Alaska, but I know there was a study, they'd collared a bear. And I talked to Tyler Friel about this a couple times, and it was like that bear had killed 40 some calves in a month.
Yeah.
One boar, like they get good at it. They get good. Like
the predators.
The older bears, the older sows, mainly the older boars, but the sows will do too, but they'll kill and they get good at killing. They'll kill a lot of calves, a lot of fawns. I mean, for me, I think it makes a difference. Even, you're not killing sows with cubs, but you're killing boars if you can. And I mean, that's the main reason I do it. And like another thing too is in Alberta, like there's a lot of bears. There is no shortage of bears.
Sounds like you guys just got thousands of them, man.
You could kill bears like, I mean, I'm the same as him. We can go on the big timber on the edge of farmland. Like you go out in the fall, and there'll be 12 bears in an oat field. Do you know how much damage they can do to a crop in a night? Like it's
fucking acres.
So
yeah.
I mean, it's the same reasons as everybody, right? They're just a predator. They need to be controlled, just like everything else. Even though, like, I feel for how many bears I've killed and how many bears I know everybody kills every year, and we're not making a dent at all. It is nothing's changing. At all. It's the same. It's been for however long. It's lots of bears.
Yeah, and I think, you guys are Alberta's certainly known for, especially northern Alberta, right? I mean, that's northern Alberta, northern Saskatchewan, northern BC too. I mean, my daughter was posted in Prince George for a couple of years when she started in the CO service. And this was a couple of years ago now, and that Prince George, this was a really dry year. There was no berries, no berry crops. Lots of forest fires and just a number of reasons and a large population. That is all she did for like 6 months in a row was deal with bears. And, just in the city of Prince George, you got the confluence of a couple of rivers and highways and, it was a nightmare. And for those members that live up north in BC, I mean, you go for a ride on a logging road right now in the last hour of daylight, and within minutes of town or even in town, you're going to see bears. We do need to do our part and control these things and try and help out. And I don't know. I'm assuming the population's growing in Alberta, right? It's not going down.
Yeah, no, but the trapping and relocating doesn't even work. So I'll give you a quick story. I was ice fishing this winter, and Fish Cop come and check me out. I kind of know him a little bit. I've seen him around, and he was BSing me, and I was reeling fishing. He said this was a grizzly, but it was in Fox Creek, which is like grizzly. There's grizzlies everywhere. There was a bear.
Central.
Yeah, there's a bear in town. In people's garbage, a mature boar grizz. They trapped him. They collared him. They drove him like, I don't know, 6 or 8 hours away. Like, I don't know how many miles. I can't remember what he said. It was like 80 or 100 miles. And in 6 days, he was back on the same corner eating garbage. And they just shot him. Like, it doesn't work. Like, they want to say that problem bears will relocate them. And it's not a thing, man. Like, it's, for the most part, it doesn't work. They're just problem bears are problem bears. You got to kill bears. You got to kill bears. Like the grizzly thing in Alberta too. Like we got to start killing them. Like it's getting out of hand, big time.
You know, it's a problem here, and you know, this is a political rabbit hole. But I would venture to guess there's not very many people that are part of Spike Camp that are either on this show tonight or in our membership that would disagree with us that bears are becoming a bigger issue. Grizzlies, those of us that are mountain hunters in BC, it's just literally now every mountain hunter or backcountry hunter or even just regular road hunters, I hear more and more stories about grizzlies. I've got a ton of them myself. Blake and I just seem to be grizzly magnets. It's happened to us way too many times. And you know, again, this is a soapbox I don't want to get on, but I think, now Christopher just popped up and he basically, grizzlies are on the island now, Vancouver Island, they've got them. And they're everywhere. They're thriving in, you know, just from the population perspective in bears. I'm curious to see what the biologists think about the population growth in Western Canada, like just say Saskatchewan, Alberta, and BC. I wonder what that number is. Curious, but anyway, we're off topic. The whole bear thing. Let's talk about hunting them. So, Wacey, when you spend a lot of time on the road in your truck, and you like to hunt them with a stick bow, right? For the most part.
Yeah, generally. Yep, it's the funnest for me anymore. If I have to skin a bear, I'd like to have some fun first. So,
a 2024 or 2025 bear hunt for Wacey, is it just opportunity now on the road? Like, is that what, are you going out looking for bears or?
Yeah, I'll go into some spots. I got some, like, right now, like green up's kind of hitting pretty hard. So, but like as a rule in our area, I would go, like last year I spent in the early May I'd hit lots of pipelines. I knew the pipelines are warm, so the frost never really sets in on them, and the green grass comes up right away. So there's tons of bears that were hitting green grass right away, and that's where I'd usually go and watch bears at night and try and find one to sneak up on. And that's one of the main things I look for in our area for early. But once the green up hits and stuff, they still go there, but they kind of move around more now and find different spots to feed. So
what are you looking for vegetation in your country on the roads?
Just fresh grass. Dandelions is a big one. When poplar buds start coming in on top of the poplar trees, I always look up. I actually had a picture. I'll have to find it, but I was just driving down the road, and they like them big forked poplar trees, like big heavy branches. They'll be up there and they eat them buds, on top.
Really?
Of poplar.
I didn't know
So
that.
I look up a lot. I actually look up a lot when I'm looking for bears, and I've found quite a few in tops of trees early on, because the trees will actually sprout buds before you get a lot of grass. So that's another thing I really look at.
So are you rifle hunting them at all anymore, or just strictly with?
I will. I mean, it depends. Like if I see a big bear, I'm like, okay, that bear, he's over 20. What I think maybe he's over 20. I'll bring a rifle and my stick. And if things get out of hand and I'm not going to get close enough with a stick, I'll thump them, because I like killing big bears.
Right? For sure.
I'm not gonna let a 20 walk out of my life. I'm not that. But
yeah,
if I can kill them with a stick, I like to do that. It's fun.
What are you using for a rifle?
Honestly, I've shot the last handful with a 30-30, just iron sights.
So much fun. These guns, man.
Fun. Yeah. But I shoot them with 270, whatever. I don't know. People overthink it, man. With like, you can kill bears with anything. Like generally, the bigger the hole, the better. With those things, get some blood going, right? Or take the
put a hole in both lungs and they don't run.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like Lander in BC, I think his rule of thumb was always he liked to thump them through the front shoulders and take their wheels out, right? So,
that was like I was saying earlier. When I shot this bear, it was with my uncle, and it was like I had missed. I missed a really nice bear. I was really young. This was, my God, 30 plus years ago. I shot that bear, and it was up Sekunka River, and I was with my uncle who lived at Tumbler Ridge. And I told this story to my daughter this morning. We were out cruising around, and in those days we had trikes, Honda trikes, the ATCs, and I had a gun boot, the old Colpin gun boot. I had a 338, an old Tika 65 in a gun boot, and unbeknownst to me, the scope, the end of the scope was banging against the inside of that gun boot, and it flattened a ring out. We come around a corner, and there's a really nice cinnamon colored black bear standing on this cat pile right on the corner, maybe 80 yards. Jumped off, pulled that rifle out, fired a shot, and hit the dirt 4 feet over his back. And then my uncle looks at me and he goes, "Oh, the buck fever, right?" And I looked down at the gun, and the ring on the end of the scope is just flattened. And I was like, shit. So we pulled the scope off, iron sights, and then an hour and a half later, this bear was on the side of a log out up on the hill. And I remember my uncle saying, "This time aim for his fucking shoulder. Don't get smart. Just take out his front end. Just shoot him." And I hit him with a 210 grain Nosler partition, and it broke the front end. But that bear, he was in an open log out, and they're tough. Like, if you don't take the lungs out or whatever, these things are tough. This thing wheeled around. This is a horrible, I'm not going to give all the details, but we were both shooting 338s, and it was under a couple 100 yards, 150 yards or something. That bear spun around with no front end and was sitting on his ass looking down. I laid another shot at him with the iron sights and pelted one right off the top of his forehead, and it just skipped off his head, knocked him over. And then my uncle's letting fly. That thing, I'm surprised you don't see the holes through the frickin' the tanned hide. There's about 8 bullet holes in that bear. But he didn't go anywhere. He was just going in circles, and he was still wheezing when we got up to him, and he got shot at least 6 times. And we're talking good bullets. Like,
oh yeah, I love a good shootout once in a while. It's fun.
It was Western. And then the best, oh my God, this is bad. But so we get this bear, we got it, we strap it on the back of my trike, and then we had to drive about 30 miles down the river valley, and all these families were camping. And of course, here we go, the rednecks with the bear strapped on, and a Honda ATC. That's a 6-foot black bear, not a monster by any means, but yeah, I had never been given the finger as many times as I did that day, driving down the road with a bear strapped on the back of my machine. All these families freaking out, but they're tough, right? Like they're tough, but you got to hit them right.
Yeah. I'm gonna duck out here, guys. Thanks for having me on. It was a blast, and I will look forward to being a part of something again in the future if I can.
Yeah, good to meet you.
Yeah,
you
right on,
well,
man.
please.
Thanks, Taylor. We appreciate it.
Thanks.
It was awesome. And this will be podcast will be up posted here in a couple days. So I appreciate you reaching out and jumping on, man. Thanks and good luck. Hopefully you find a dead bear tonight. You don't have to go tracking too far.
Thanks, guys. Have a good night.
All right, man. We'll see you later. All right, Wacey. So what's your favorite, like when you spot a bear on the road, what is your tactic to trying to stalk? Are you paying attention to the wind and all that shit, or what are you trying to do?
Yeah, when you're spotting stock, wind is everything. It's everything, because they're not going to tolerate a whole bunch. But first, generally, if I do see them, like say from the truck, I glass, and you try to look at them. You can tell. You just got to look at a lot of bears. I don't even really know how to explain what a big boar, but like I can tell like big boars when they're walking, they kind of got like a swagger on their front end, like how they walk and how they carry themselves. They kind of almost strut, right? Like they're kind of like the big boars are kind of, walking like, a big bear. When you see a big bear, you're like, yeah, that's a big bear. But when you see another bear and you're like, yeah, I don't know if he's big or not, then he's probably not. That's kind of like how I look at it. Like when you see him, you're like, man, that's big. He's probably a shooter. But if you're kind of humming and hawing and second guessing, he's probably not a shooter. So if you're gonna spot and stalk, you're gonna screw up some bears. It's gonna happen. You're gonna shoot a bear you thought was good. It's gonna be a 16-inch sow with no cubs. You know, it's gonna be a thing. It's gonna happen.
Yeah, and I don't think, like, at the end of the day, you got to learn somehow, and judging these things is tough, right? Like, you know, even tell it. I'm certainly no expert, and this is why I ask a lot of questions. But any tips for trying to determine sow versus boar if they're big bears? Like, it's probably easier when they're smaller, but on a big bear, what are you looking for?
So like a sow's kind of got a more pointy face. They're more slender in the neck, kind of through their withers. Boars are kind of like blunt faced, like they got like they're square. Big boars will have little beady eyes. Usually, not always, but they'll generally have smaller ears. They just got the kind of like a bulldog look to them almost, right? They're big in the front end, big chest. Sows are kind of dainty looking. Sows kind of they look long, like they kind of look long and scraggly. It's just one of them things you gotta like. I can look at a bear generally like through binos, and within a couple seconds I was like boar or sow. Like I can pick it out right away. But things I look for, you know, is generally how they carry themselves, and their facial features are a big one for me.
Yeah, for sure. What about like tips in general? So you spot a bear, like you said, we were talking about bears on the side of a hill or something. At distance, what are your cues for a decent bear? I mean, this is going to get harder the farther away you get, right?
Yeah. Honest to God, my honest opinion, if you're going to be long range in bears, it's kind of a crapshoot. I'm going to be honest with you. I mean, you could be like, you know, watch him for a while, how he's acting and walking and stuff. You don't really have a reference to go off of. But you just kind of gotta be like, if it looks like a big bear, that's your shot, right? If you're shooting, if you're going to be 300 over kind of thing, 500 yards, I mean, your guess could be as good as mine at that distance, right? Like I'm looking at bears. When I'm looking at bears, like when I'm like hunting pipelines and stuff, and I'm hiking into spots, like I'm looking at bears at 100 yards sub. Like when I'm looking at them, like I'm sneaking in with a wooden bow, right? So,
sure, yeah.
But when you start getting extreme range, like I mean, you could pull up 100 videos on YouTube of guys that are long range and bears. I mean, they all look the same at that distance to me, to be honest.
Yeah.
Like just whether he's color or not colored. But you will see, like if you do see a big boar, you're like, yeah, that's a big boar, even at distance. But even then, it's tough. I don't really have a real answer for that one.
Yeah, I've asked the question a couple times. I was chatting with someone who does a lot of open country bear hunting, and I said, "So, what do you like? What's same question? Like, what's your tactic for determining whether it's big?" He goes, "At range, all I'm looking for is size and maturity, and then I'll sneak in and just start working from there." And he said, "You know, look at the size." His cues were if the bear is facing away from you, sometimes it's easier to tell if it's big or not, just because of the size of the butt.
Yeah,
you know, that's a good indicator. Like if you see the butt and nothing else and it's sort of straight away, or if it's on a hillside and the ass looks wider and then the front, then that might be an indication. But again, even a small bear can look like that, right? So I don't know.
I would say it's probably the most screwed up animal like in North America for judging. I think more of them get screwed up than anything. Like I would say mountain goat's probably second.
Yeah.
But I would say black bears or bears in general are just the number one. Like people are like, oh, that looks like a good boar, and they walk up to it like, damn, that thing is small. That's a real thing that happens a lot, right? Or you end up like Joe, right? You're telling me they thump a bear, looks like a good bear, and it's 21, right?
Yeah, and that's exactly like, yeah. He saw it and he's like, oh, it's a nice bear. Well, wait a minute, it's a really nice bear. Same idea.
You'll never kill another 21 in your life, I bet. Like, I haven't killed a 21. I've hunted bears hard for a long time.
Well, same thing. He said, his wife shot that bear, and they had their 2 kids with them, little ones, brand new baby, and then the little guy, who's not such a little guy, but he said that his exact words were, that his clip on Instagram, he goes, it was the biggest bear he's ever seen in his life, and lives on the coast, and that he loves hunting bears. So, once in a while, it's going to happen. So
it's just the honest check when you're doing it. But as far as score goes, it's kind of a crapshoot. But you can do yourself a favor to try and hold out, look at a lot of bears, just try to pick the biggest one and kill it, right? But nobody's going like. Generally, like when I see big bears, like when I see a big bear, I could be like, man, that thing's he's north of 19. Or maybe I think he's over 20, but like them are big bears. Like when you see
but
them,
you're seeing that bear within 100 yards, right?
Yeah,
like you said.
Right. Yeah,
and I would, if I think for the average bear hunter, nobody's gonna. I don't think there's many guys on this show tonight that are going to be able to tell a 18 to 21 inch bear and what the difference is in between. I mean, holy shit. Like you're talking this much. Well,
yeah.
You're talking an inch each way, right? Like you said,
an inch in a bear is gigantic. The difference between a 20-inch bear and a 22-inch bear is just it's like you can't even explain like how big of a jump that is. It's crazy.
Mm-hmm. Have you ever hunted bears outside of Alberta? Have you ever tried it anywhere else?
I never. I want to do. When me and Tyler were running and gunning there together, I wanted to get in on a coastal BC hunt, man. Just spot and stalk on the beach, riding around in a boat. I think it'd be fun. Fishing in the afternoon. You know what I mean? Barbecuing, catching some halibut or whatever, and then go stalk bears at night. I think it'd be a fucking riot. I mean, guys that live in BC, I don't know why more guys don't do it. I think that'd be.
It's funny. Yeah, I mean I've never thought too much about it, but yeah, we should try and figure something out. I'd love to do that. It would be a blast.
Yeah, that's honestly, I've killed so many bears. I don't even. It's hard for me to really even get motivated about it. But I would love to do that. I think that with a couple of guys, I think that would just be a blast. Even if I didn't kill one, even if I just got to go in on some stalks and stuff, would be fun, right?
A surf and turf bear hunt.
Yeah,
right there.
Man, I just don't know. I don't see a lot of guys do it. Like it's big in Alaska, I know that. Like back in the day, Fred Bear, he was doing all those coastal hunts in Alaska off they had a boat and then just little skiff boats, like whatever with motors.
Little Zodiacs and stuff.
Dock. That's how he killed that big grizzly, whatever that was in the 60s. But I mean, it's just like, that would be a super fun hunt to me, man. Super fun. Drank whiskey all night on the boat and then fish. It'd be fun.
All right, Blake just posted it. Bear Camp 2026 live stream from a bear camp on the island somewhere or coastal. That'd be fun.
Yeah. Yeah, it would be
that's
fun.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right, man. I think we're soon gonna wrap it up. We've got another giveaway. So this one's got a little bit of a hitch to it. It's got a condition. So Blake is gonna pull a name, but we're going to give away a Defense Aerosols bear spray and holster. The condition on that is I'm not going to ship it just because shipping bear spray is like shipping gunpowder. It's a pain in the ass. So if you are within striking distance of Lower Mainland or upwards of Kamloops in the southern part of the Caribou, I'll get this bear spray to you. If we draw a name and I find out later you're like too far away, then we're going to ship you one of our Mountain Fuel bundles, which is some samples of This Is Coffee from our buddy Wardo. So we'll give you a bunch of that. We're going to give you some sample Trail Fair Foods meals. Have you tried those, Wacey, the dehydrated ones from? Oh, you make your own, right? You make all your own stuff.
I have a freeze dried machine. I make my own stuff, but
Yeah. So these
I
guys
haven't
do
tried.
too. They're a husband and wife team out of northern BC, and they make their own, and they use the same technology, the freeze dry. Their shit is legit good. It's really good. And then we'll throw some wilderness athlete samples in there too. So Blake, are you gonna pull a name? He's probably typing it right now. See what he comes up with here. While I'm waiting for him, the May rewards program is a 3-pack of Wilderness Athlete Hydrate and Recover. And this is a buddy Matt from Mountain Gear, MTN Gear from down New Zealand way. He has given us a backcountry carbon bipod and hybrid rail to give away. So yeah, really cool stuff. So who's the winner? Jeffrey Bowen. All right, Jeffrey Bowen, you won a can of bear spray or a Mountain Fuel pack. And I think just for kicks, we're going to give away a second Mountain Fuel pack too. You want to draw another one, Blake?
That pack alarm thing is freaking cool, man. I used it sheep hunting last year.
Did you? Yeah, right on.
Man, what a great little invention, man. We had to spend one night, right, where a grizzly was digging like groundhogs up. And we just set that up. And I'm like, man, this is the coolest. It's so light and it's cool. It's a cool design. I really like it.
It's simple. Yeah. You know what? We've been selling those things. It's crazy where in the world people buy them. Thomas Bozeman, you're the second winner. All right. So we'll talk to both of you guys and get you squared away. But we have sold these, I think we sold one today to Australia. We've sold them to, Blake, help me out. We've sold them, I think, Greenland, somewhere like that. There's one of our customers buys them all over Europe, like places where there's not even bears, to be honest. But yeah, I mean, pretty simple design, right? Like
cool.
Did it go off? Did you have an animal set it?
No, never did. But I had the wind set it off one night, so I had to.
Fuck! Is that loud? Hey.
Yeah, so I had to get up and reset the trigger. Right? Like when it goes off, you're like, "Fuck, here we go."
Here we go. It's Western time, man. Guns loaded, flashlights on. Oh yeah.
But yeah, I figured it was the wind. The wind was howling, but it's a kind of a cool thing. Like the second sheep hunt I did it simple, right? So I just set it up at night and I'd sleep good. It's fun.
I tell you, man. Once you start using them, you do sleep better.
It's in my bag. I'll never take it out sheep hunting. Not in grizzly country. It's pretty handy. It just gives you a heads up, eh? Something's lurking.
It's an early warning. And the nice thing is too, you can, we did the trade show circuit a little bit, so we were, we had this little display. Blake made this display with, a little mini camp in it with some, kids' little toy black bears and stuff, and had the pack alarm set up. So it's hard to explain to somebody when they walk up to you, what is this thing? How does it work? So we actually made a little perimeter camp, and I was talking to people, and we ran into a ton of people that would come up to us and go, "Hey, I bought one of these 20 years ago, and this is what I use it for." But a lot of guys will have 2 or 3 of them when they do like a fly-in moose hunting trip, for example. So they'll set one up around their tent or, their cooking tent and their main tent, and then the meat pole 100 yards away, right? Because bears will come in at night, steal the moose off the meat pole, and you hear that siren from 100 yards away. At least there's a bear on it. You might not otherwise know, right? Until you get up in the morning and find a quarter's missing, right? So
I bet you that alarm would scare them right off anyway, to be honest.
Yeah, probably would. It would certainly, for the first time it would. I guess there's pros and cons to it too. Like I know we've had a couple of guys buy them to put around their jet boat when they beach a jet boat, or they leave their gear at the river and they go up mountain hunting. The only problem with that is once it goes off until the battery's dead. And but I was talking to a guy who had one go off. He was sheep hunting and had a bear go into his boat, and it set the pack alarm off, and he was over a kilometer away as the crow flies, and at the top of a mountain, and he could hear it going off. And he's like, shit, I got to go back down, and went down there, and luckily the bear had taken off. But yeah, that stuff, there's lots of uses for them, but yeah,
Cool,
glad to
man.
hear it's working
Pretty
out
cool.
for you.
Like, because most guys, like from what I've ever seen, well, Tyler and them guys, they all carried a little electric fences, and that was kind of a pain in the ass. Like, even if it was a small electric fence setup, it's still like poles and all this shit and wire. This thing's just like one little unit, man, and it's all you need, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, it does its job. I mean, it's pretty simple technology, and you buy a battery every year. I mean, those smoke detector 9 volts, they last forever, and especially those things, like, they hold their charge. That's the nice thing about a 9 volt, is they'll hold their charge for a long time. But if you just peace of mind, just change it out once a year, and then it's going to work. But I put one out. I'm up at my cabin right now, and I put one out. Blake wanted to know how it would handle a winter, and we get legit winters here, minus 40 plus. And I came up here a few times in the wintertime and set it off, and it worked fine. It handled the winter no problem. So
yeah, it's cool.
Yeah,
cool.
they're a cool device. So what do you got? Your draws are coming up soon, right? They open up in a week or two for Alberta.
Yeah.
Isn't it June 1, right?
June, yeah, I think, yeah.
So I'm jealous of you Alberta boys with this, but what are you going to pull for a tag this year, Wacey? What do you got that you think you're going to draw?
I have everything to pull and no time, probably. I got to do my trophy antelope's ready to pull. Archery antelope is ready to pull. My bull elk, I'm like 14 years. I could pretty much pull anywhere in the province almost. Yeah, like I gotta start cleaning up some tags. I say that every year. It's just hard, right? Because you gotta pull, like, my shift is I'm a week on work, week off work, right? So like if I say pull an antelope tag for my week off, right? Like that's 3 weeks, right? I don't have that whole bunch of time. And in that time, like say I was going to do archery antelope, that's the same time I go for sheep, in September. So it's like, you kind of, what do you want? Like, I want to kill sheep. That's where I'm at. So I just keep building points, right? Sheep is the most important thing to me right now out of anything. So I'm not going to pull anything probably, to be honest. Just build points.
Yeah. I mean, I wish we had the luxury of even kind of roughly knowing what we were going to do here in BC, but we don't. But yeah, I hear you, man. Sheep is on my it's top of the list for me. I've got my new rifle I'm playing with, this Alpine Rifle Craft Zenith. Yeah.
284, was it?
284 Winchester. 284. Yeah. It's an interesting caliber. It's an old school caliber, originally designed for lever action guns, and became really popular with F-class shooters for long range. When most guys would put them in a long action, so they could stretch the bullet out of the case, and they can also use spire point bullets because it's not in a lever gun. And so it's a really good long range target rifle caliber or cartridge. And I was talking with Mike when we were kind of going back and forth a year ago about what caliber to build it on. And with his design of his action, I've got about almost 3 inches of magazine to play with, so I can seat those bullets out. And I'm getting, he did a little post today on his Instagram. I sent him I've got a load worked up for it that shoots consistently under half inch, half MOA at 100. I sent him a 3-shot group that was like 0.456, but I shot a 10-inch group with it a week ago that was 0.86, and it was 10 shots. And for me, that's good. That's under an inch, and it's also a 5-pound, 13-ounce rifle with a scope on it. So holding that thing on the bench when, you got a rifle that light sitting in sandbags, your heartbeat moves the crosshair about a half MOA, right? So even when it's coming through your cheek. But actually tomorrow I'm going to take it out and play with it out to about 700 yards. That's sort of my max range with that gun. I'd probably never shoot an animal past 5, but it's nice. I got put 130 rounds through it now, and it's just a dream to shoot. It's so cool. Really nice gun.
Did you ever see any advantages for the short mags, the short action stuff over the years, Chuck? Or
I love the short. I had a 300 short mag for a long time. And I do. I think they were great in that you could build them in a shorter, like in a lightweight rifle. I have a lot of friends that still have the 300s. You know, feeding can be a bit of a concern because of the, you know, just the stubbiness and the shoulder and stuff like that. Like they're a little fussy, but I think there's a few of the short mags that are a little underrated in my opinion, which I still see coming up and they don't last long, is 270 short mag and the 7 short mag. Yeah. Both really cool calibers. But like, you know, honestly, if you start looking at you know, ballistic charts and bullet choices and stuff, I mean, realistically for hunting, you know, anything in the 7 class or 270 class is going to be really
well, like a 270 WSM. What does it have? Maybe Ed knows offhand, but is it like 300 feet on just a 270 long action? Like it's not a bunch, is it?
What do you mean? Velocity?
Speed. You're looking for? Speed. Yeah.
I'd have to pull it up, but yeah, I mean, depends. Like if a 140 grain bullet, I bet you'd be in that 2,900. Like to put it in perspective.
To me, it was never worth having less magazine capacity, right? You didn't gain a bunch, I thought.
Yeah, no, exactly. Like when I was building this rifle, for me, I looked at it, I kind of went backwards. It's like, you know, when you build a house, you want to start with, when do I want to move in? Right? I want to move in September. So then, all right, you work your way back in the construction and come back. For me, when I chose this rifle, I looked at it and said, you know, what are my goals? Okay, well, I'm going to be 57 when I hit the mountains this year, and I've got knee issues. Ounces count for me. And I'm a believer in accuracy over velocity. It's just a personal theory. And I said, I want a gun that I'm going to shoot a Nosler Accubon bullet. Nosler Accubon bullets have, you know, impact velocity of 1,800 feet a second or less, or more, is optimal for that bullet. So I said, all right, what's my range going to be with, you know, a 7mm bullet? I'm looking for a caliber 7mm, 160 grain Accubon. To me, I've killed more stuff with that particular bullet in a 7 SAUM than I have any other animal. And I just worked my way backwards. In this 284, I'm getting 2850 out the muzzle with this gun with a 160 grain Accubon. I'm driving a 1/2-inch group, and I got muzzle velocity at 1,900 and some feet a second out at 600 yards.
Well, that's pretty good. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's 5 pounds 13 ounces with a Swarovski scope on it. Like
I'll be honest with you. When I'm hunting, I mean, if I can't get under 500 yards, I'm a shitty hunter. Like I don't want to shoot stuff at fucking 700-800. That's not my thing. I mean, some guys maybe it is, but I like to get up and hunt. Like use some skill to hunt, get close. And I guess if it's too far, then it's too far. Well, that's just me.
Oh, here we go. Mike Parker just piped in. He says you can push 130 grain bullet 3,200 feet a second with a 270 Winchester short mag. So
I'll have to look at my notes. I think I'm out of my 270 long action. I'm shooting at 129 grain LRX at like 29 something. So pretty much right at 3,000. So we're right tight. A couple of hundred extra feet, and tightens up your gaps a little bit, but I don't know.
So I know
guys that do love them WSMs, so they swear by them.
Yeah, I've had a couple. I liked them. I just found them a little clunky to feed depending on the action, but I mean, just wait. Something else will show up tomorrow. There'll be a new caliber.
What was that new caliber that just came out? Everybody was raving about here, like.
The backcountry, the 7 PRC back or 7mm backcountry. Yeah, we did a show on it. That's with the steel case.
Yeah.
It's going to be interesting. But I went old school. So here's something for you, Wacey. I know you've read that Frank Glazer book, right? The Wolfman.
Yeah.
I just did an impulse buy this afternoon. I bought a pre-64 Model 70 in 220 Swift. So,
Yeah. That guy killed grizzlies with that gun.
Yep. So it's going to be interesting. So I got a small collection of Model 70 pre-64.
He said that no other gun that he used killed grizzly bears better than the 220 Swift.
I know. I didn't buy mine for grizzlies, but I wouldn't say no.
I know, like back in the day, my dad, I thought for some reason I seen the Alpine Rifle Crafts post, and for some reason I thought it was a 264 Win Mag, but
284. Yeah.
284. That's where I was screwed up. I was like, because I know back in the day, my dad and them guys used to use 264 Wins all the time.
I grew up with one, man. I've got a pre-64 in that caliber, and it's one of my most accurate rifles. I shot my whitetail in Saskatchewan with it last year. That's a fun caliber too. That was the original 6.5 mag. Yeah. Then you got the PRCs and all the Creedmoors and everything else. But anyway, we're not talking bears anymore. We slipped into gun talk again.
Yeah, that's fun.
God, it happens on every show. I think people are probably getting tired of me sitting here yakking about guns. But anyway, we're running out of time, brother. It's been a blast. We got to do this more often.
Yeah, we'll have to. We'll jump on and do some more stuff here. My boys' last hockey tournament was this past weekend here, so I'm free for a few months here. So
awesome. Well, we'll stay in touch. I'm done my travel for my spring travel. Since in the last 90 days, I've been to Asia twice and South America. Yeah, job's changing a little bit for me. I'm starting to ease into the retirement mode here pretty soon, so I don't have to do all this international travel, which I ain't gonna fucking miss it at all, I tell you.
Yeah,
it's old.
So I'll leave. If we're gonna log off, I'll leave everybody with one tip about bears. If you think it's a big bear, shoot it. If you go, that's a big bear, shoot it.
Good stuff.
If you don't think it's a big bear, you're humming and hawing about it, then don't shoot it. You'll know a shooter bear when you see one, for sure.
Right on. Good stuff, Wacey. Well, tomorrow night we got a couple of BC boys on. Jordan and Daniel are going to join us. And the cool part about our Bear Camp series, which is neat, is it's all Spike Camp members. Everybody who's guests tonight. So community's growing, everybody. Thank you for your support. And Wacey, thanks, buddy. We'll be in touch. I'll talk to you soon.
You bet you, Chuck. Thanks a lot.
All right, bud. See you later. Thanks, everyone.